Hello and welcome to this week's look at the world of action and stunts on film and television. How are you? Welcome to Friday. Bit of housekeeping. I'm not actually here. You're looking at a pre-record. I'm in Sweden currently at the Light Till Dark Film Festival, which I'm taking part in over there. It's going to be a super time. So if you're seeing this, you're watching the pre-record. I will be back next week at some point for some live bits and pieces. And we're also doing a live, I think an Instagram live we're going to be doing from over there, myself and Bonnie. If you check out the Bond Buzz podcast, you will see that we are over there doing a few bits and pieces from there as well. In the meantime, here we are on, what will this be? This will be 7th of November. 7th of November. You've had all the fireworks going off all year because there was a time when, do you remember? Back in the old days, we used to have fireworks, which meant it was firework night. Not anymore. Somebody comes home, I don't know, unexpectedly with chips. All of a sudden, they're a legend and fireworks are set off. So there we are. It's been a bit busy on the firework front. Animals doing their nut, I imagine, hiding under the bed, doing all the usual bits and pieces that animals do during this freakish period. If it's not Halloween, it is bonfire night, or it's every other night of the week, so it's all very confusing. Having said that, we have decided that the safest place to go is 1976. That's where we're going to go. We went there last week, if you remember, with Silver Streak. We are going again this week with a movie of so many titles, a movie that its star, Roger Moore, said was shambolic from start to finish. I think he was contractually obligated to do it. It was a US Italian production, co-production, and there was something in connection with one of his previous pictures or something of that nature, which meant he had to do this. Consequently, he was lumbered. I do believe, though, that he did have, he had a bit of say as far as casting was concerned, and he cast his pal Stacy Keach. They got on terribly well. It's very much, I mentioned this in the podcast this week, it's a bit like The Persuaders, only in reverse. In The Persuaders, Brett Sinclair, Roger's character, was the racing driver, and Danny, Tony Curtis' character, was the sort of financial whiz kid kind of character. You know, he knows about the money, he knows about stocks and shares, he knows about the oil business. That's his thing. In this movie, role reversal, Ulysses, who is Roger Moore, he's the brains of the outfit, really. He's the facts and figures guy. And then Stacy Keach, Charlie, he's the racing driver. So he's doing all of those bits and pieces. So it's kind of like The Persuaders, the opposite way around. It's a mafiosi type thing. His brother, Roger's brother, Ulysses' brother, is a priest. Okay? He's a clergy priest. And then there's another, and I'm still not entirely convinced whether it's another brother. I think it is. I've watched the movie half a dozen times. I'm still not quite sure. You know, you watch movies sometimes and you go, did I watch this properly? Did you get I'm not so sure. So you may need to watch it 56 times to get it right. I don't intend to do that, but the sequences that we're going to look at are quite exciting. So the idea is, I think there's two brothers, and one of them is in the mafiosi, and one of them is a priest. And one of them, presumably the religious side of the family, has arranged for a cross of Jesus on the cross to come from Sicily to go to a church in San Francisco as a gift, as a goodwill gift from the people of Sicily. And evidently what happens is it gets hijacked along the way, and the mafia side put huge quantities of drugs in it and simply transport it from there to the US. And so there's an issue. Ulysses is then brought in to try and sort out what's gone on, who's who did what to who, and make sure it doesn't happen again. That's the basis of it. And if you can understand that, it's like walking from here to the Isle of Man in glue. It's very complicated. But nonetheless, stick with it, no pun intended, stick with it, because there are car crashes. There is action, and at the front end, at the sharp end of all of this, is Glenn Wilder. Glenn Wilder, of course, one of those founding heroes who created Stunts Unlimited back in the day. Hal Needham, Glenn Wilder, and Ronnie Rondell, the three big names. They came up with the whole thing, and Glenn is there in the thick of it and is really been given carte blanche to kind of do what he wants. There's a sequence that we're going to have a look at, which is effectively a destruction of a vehicle on the streets of San Francisco. Some of the streets are closed, some are not, and we'll get to that when we have a look at it. I spoke with Glenn, sadly no longer with us, but Glenn, I spoke to him in 1991, in November of 1991, for another project, in point of fact, many years ago. And we talked about a whole bunch of bits and pieces, and we talked about this sequence, and we talked about the sequence at the end there. There's another separate sequence, and I'll explain what happened when we regroup afterwards. Okay, so let's just take a moment, have a little look at this, and then we'll come back and we'll have a little chat. All right, here we go. Right, so Roger Moore, Stacy Keach in, well, whatever it's called. I think it's called on here the Executors, and then a subheading of Sicilian Cross. Now, prior to doing this, I told you that I think it's Glenn Wilder and Buddy Joe Hooker in the car, right? And this is Stacy Keach doing some actual driving here because he's very good at driving. Having re-looked at it on that last sequence, which I'll get to, but it's Ronnie Rondell, right? It's definitely Ronnie Rondell, and I'll show you. So this, Roger in Italy, getting in to the aforementioned Fiat. It's an Italian movie, therefore there has to be a Fiat in the movie, and there it is. He sets off, he comes down to the end of the road here, and he turns left. Goes on down the hill. Then it cuts away to a long shot of him coming down the hill. Still Roger. Then in the foreground, up pops a gunman. Shotgun. Cocks the first barrel, cocks the second barrel. When he hits the trigger, they will fire together, right? That's how it works, but not in the movie. Boom, there's the first one going off. Big hole in the windscreen. Boom, there's the second one goes off, right? And the windscreen falls out. That's detonators around the outside blowing that out, by the way. And the windscreen has blown out in one big piece. There are fragments everywhere else. In the car is Remo de Angelis. He's the Italian stunt coordinator, and he is driving the vehicle. The driver then goes, right, I'll go and inspect my handiwork. And look, the windscreen is still in place. How's that happened? Bit of movie awkwardness. And then Rog gives him all 6 shots out of his gun. Have that, you swine. This, we saw Charlie driving, okay? Now, this is the car, the red car that they are selling, and Charlie's going to take it for a test drive. Your man says, no problem, I'll get in with you. And he gets in. Now, this is where I've got confusion. So there, in this particular chase sequence, in and around San Francisco, it's Glenn Wilder driving, okay? And it's Buddy Joe Hooker as the passenger. So that's presumably where the confusion is led, but I wanted to get that right before we moved on. Charlie is then going to take this guy, as he says, hold on, baby, going to take you on a cosmic ride, and going to take him on a cosmic ride all the way around town. You know how to drive, don't you, says this other guy. Oh, yeah, it's all coming back to me now. Throws it into gear and chucks it up the street like you wouldn't believe. And there's carnage happening here. The street, they filmed a great deal of it on a closed street. So they've managed to close some of the sections. But a lot of the sections are not closed off. This particular piece they're doing now, turning left into the street here, doing the big turns, the 180s. That's a closed piece of street, and that's been there for the purpose. There are a couple of bits you'll see further down. Well, that street's not really closed, and it's up to Glenn to be very specific about his movements. Yeah, putting a seatbelt on. Oh, that's pretty wise, I think, under the circumstances. Throwing it into traffic. These sort of shots here. So the camera positions that are in the car when you're facing down the road. Ooh, now, obviously, these are situations whereby you have to close roads off, but it's done very cleverly. And there's the permits and all the paperwork and everything else to get this done is really very complicated indeed. So the budget-wise, it just wouldn't allow the company to do exactly what they wanted to do. And they've given Glenn and said, look, if you can help us out here and do the very best you can safely, then we will be only too happy to accept that. But if you need to do it properly. So a lot of this worked out to the last detail. There are moments here, and you notice the car, after every impact, slowly falling apart. Brake test, look, oh my God, everything is just twisted around. You'll see in a moment, as from Roger's point of view in the car, when Charlie drives by and the car looks fine. How has that happened? They obviously don't have any B-roll footage of the car in bits. So these type of shots, these are done from an open road perspective. And then when you've got the collisions, you've got everything else, that's all got to be taken into consideration. Oh, and he's made a big hole in the windscreen. Oh, what? Oh, my God. My God, man. Look what you did with the windshield. Oh, my God. Big hole in there. And now it sees the car driving by. Look at it. And it's absolutely fine. Oh, so that's all good. And then the bonnet flies off. And the rest of the car, a moment ago, as you notice, was pointing up in the air with the wings hanging off and everything else. And now, see, there's bits of it dropping off. It's becoming the clown car. The clown car at the circus where it all comes on and the doors fall off and everything else falls off. Stacey Keach, very good driver. Really, really very good driver. Very safe driver under the right circumstances when he's given the opportunity. But there are roads and certain circumstances here which he is not allowed to do. Then Buddy hangs out the side of the car. That's the inside shot. Those external shots are of Buddy Joe Hooker hanging outside the car. And it's all done down to the last detail. Drives over his own wheel. Oh, airborne. More bits falling off. Driving up the hill, San Francisco, the perfect place to have a car chase. You're going to have a car chase. You're going to wreck some vehicles. Do it in San Francisco. You get lots of air. You get this. You get that. It's a guaranteed location. Just going to reverse. Mind the door there. Oh, dear. There's the door come off. And bits of it are just falling off. Every time the car turns the corner, bits of it are falling off. No traction on that front wheel, by the way, because the door is now trapped under it. Oh, he's got rid of it there. Swinging it round. Your man's hanging out. I mean, look at this. Can you imagine? Can you imagine test driving this? You know, you advertise something in the newspaper and a guy comes along and gives it this. I mean, the insurance company wouldn't believe you. Nobody would believe you. The police wouldn't believe you. And again, driving the pants off this thing. Hold on, baby. Crunch. That was a full-on impact. And then he says, do you know, well, I like it, but I just don't like the colour. I'm sorry, what can I say? And off he goes. And the expression on your man's face says it all. The guy's going, yeah, oi, I can't get... Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, what can I say? Oh, sorry. And then he jumps down and gets into Roger's car. Everyone's going, did he really say what I just thought he said? Oh, my God. And they drive off to the next destination. I mean, that's, when in doubt, if the plot's not working, throw a car chase into it, which is effectively what they're doing now here as well. So just leading up to this moment, they were interrogating somebody about the death of a particular individual. The guy was then shot, right, by a sniper. They are now following the guy, and Stacey's driving, and they are chasing the guy, and they're going to try and catch up. So this is Sausalito. I'm reliably informed. This is the area in the US where they're filming this, and behind the wheel of the car. So for the movie, Stacey Keach is driving, but for the purpose of the exercise, the driver is Ronnie Rondell. Right? It's a Stunts Unlimited production. Ronnie Rondell is driving the chase car, and his passenger, doubling Roger Moore, is Glenn Wilder. All right, so that's the confusion. And clearly, I think I've sorted my own confusion out. I told you about the confusion that I was having because when I spoke to Glenn, he said that he needed to try and save his buddy from the water. And clearly, he was referring to his buddy and not Buddy, as in Buddy Joe Hooker. So that's where the confusion has arisen. And we'll spot Glenn along the way, but you only spot Ronnie really late on. So we will have a look at that. But again, just such a beautiful location, the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance there. The winding roads, open roads, right? I mean, they will have been given instruction, but I dare say that there is, these roads are open to the public. You're not closing these roads. These roads are open to the public. There will be, in certain circumstances, sections of the road whereby they may use a section of the road over and over again. It might be dressed slightly differently. They may approach the corner slightly differently. But nonetheless. And then these sections, these will be, that's ND drivers in the background. So that's going to be stunt people in all of the vehicles that you see. The camera position right at the very back with the vehicle closing up the off-road. Important. Roger now taking a breath for a moment. Jesus. They're going to try and kill us all. And this is the work of the storyboards to a point. And there would have been sections on here, right? This is going to be a close shot. That you're going to come around the camera and out the other side. It's a very effective shot, and you see that a great deal. Cars don't appear to be traveling terribly quickly. That's an ND car there. Then there's the trucks, and the trucks they play another valid part here. And I am reliably informed that Kerry Lofton is driving one of the trucks. There's two trucks. I don't know who's driving the second one. But I believe that Kerry Lofton was driving one of the vehicles. Again, got himself a reputation fairly early on for driving larger vehicles and being in a situation where he can control them at speed and in varying situations. A very fine driver. Our two heroes have now gone off-road to try and cut out the truck completely. This may well be a piece of track that has been added into the side there, allowing them to have access from point A to point B when they will rejoin the road again. There's the vehicle there. They then pop out from the side and Ronnie has to floor it so that the truck just turns up through the dust in the background. So that's the idea. And then you get another one ahead. And of course, the situation with that is that they think, right, he's going down there, I'll go down there as well. They realize that the truck in front and the truck behind are working together and are going to be the filling in a tanker sandwich. Not an ideal scenario. You've got a truck approaching fast from behind, them stuck in the middle and one at the front that's trying to control the flow of traffic. This will be a controlled environment. You won't get this on an open road, so that road will be closed for a period of time. And again, a number of camera positions, the long off. This is a camera based on the front of the vehicle looking back, grading the two actors. No pods back then. No blind driving. That's the two of them at the wheel. That's not a back projection. That is them in the vehicle. The close-up shots where you don't see them, that's going to be the stunt drivers. So they put all of that editing together and it gives the impression that they are there in the thick of it, and it's very convincing. It is very convincing, there's no doubt about that. A great deal of wreckage now happening. Rog then goes into the back seat and fishes out a shotgun. Is it a shotgun? Yes. Goes out through the sunroof. It says, right, you buggers, have some of this, and starts firing. The brakes go on behind. It's the vehicle in front. Oh, there's an oncoming piece of traffic there. And he's now firing, trying to get the wing mirrors out or trying to shoot at the vehicle. Bang, gets the mirrors out on one side, gets the other side. Again, that's Roger hanging over the top. There's another gunshot there, and then it goes off-road and rolls over. For real. I thought it was toppled over, but it's not. And then you've got an additional shot. You see the body lying through the front of the windscreen. Okay. So the vehicle now goes on. So, right, let's get this dude. And there's the wreckage of the other truck. There's two in the truck in front. There's a guy firing out of the passenger seat. But again, I can't tell. And that's Glenn Wilder there. You see him there, ducking away back into the car. They then go back to a separate shot that they used before, and it will get to a point where they are struck off-road there. The car comes along, and as it comes up and over the top, there is the only time you get to see Ronnie Rondell with the moustache. You see him? And then into the water. It lands flat. The windows are open, which will allow them to get out as quickly as possible. There's Glenn getting out through the roof. Of course, yes, the windows are open, but the roof, but with the windows open and the roof open, it means it's sinking faster too. So he manages to get himself out. Maybe he's struggling to get Ronnie out, and then drags him out at the last moment. This is a bit later on in the film. Once they've managed to find the boys, these were the guys that were selling the car earlier. Rog on his own at first with these two lads, but he can deal with this, or he thinks he can anyway. Again, plenty of haymakers. The box on the table contains the drugs, by the way, just to keep you pitched at what's going on. Right, there's a situation here. Roger's now not in a good place, and he's not winning here. Up at the window comes Charlie, and he sees what's going on. He says, no, Ulysses will be okay. Oh, no, he won't. Okay. And he comes charging in. Ta-da! He comes in. He delivers a great punch here, and this one's brilliant. Look. But then the guy doesn't react properly and reacts by moving his head the other way. It's a great shame. That was a good punch. I enjoyed that. Rog doing that, holding the head and throwing the right hand. A knife in play now, so he's got to get that out of the guy's hand. They're all doing the standoff thing. Gives it that. Gets him in the lock, then gets the fingers, twists the wrist, drops the knife. Right, that's that there. Throws him across, comes back over, duck, grab, bang. And he'll do it again. Then grabs him round the neck, and he's going to try and finish it there and then. Now Charlie's in a bit of bother, gets himself trapped in a curtain, and the big lad is away out through the window with a box of drugs. He goes, click, that's it, job's a good one, good night, Vienna. Let's go onto the roof and try and find this dude. They get up there. He's determined that box of drugs, he's going to take that. Absolutely, without no problem at all. That's his job. That's his principle. He has absolutely nothing else on his mind apart from taking that and making it his very, very own. And they start to get across. They start to try and find where this dude is. They're jumping from roof to roof. Again, fairly standard stuff, but there are a couple of occasions where it's very clearly not the actors. I mean, you can't afford to have the actors in that type of situation. And now they're worried because on the rooftop over there is a sniper trying to get out of the way. They're trying to make sure that your man doesn't get hit either, but it's coming from over there. And now this guy's trying to get down, so he gets down, jump. It's not the actor. You can't afford the actor to do that. This guy, probably at the time, mid-50s maybe? That wouldn't be Roger either. That's going to be AN stuntman. I mean, you don't necessarily need it to be Glenn Wilder. And Glenn's probably arranging it. And there's Charlie's double jumping down onto the roof. Again, trying to keep themselves out of the way. Dropping the thing down. I'm surprised the box didn't burst and there was... What do they refer to it? Marching powder all over the floor. But it will come to an end very soon because they're running out of time. Your man's running out of time. The sniper is not running out of bullets. And it is going to take a moment where hopefully they will be in a situation to rectify the whole situation and get off the roof with or without the guy with the box. That's a lot of cocaine he's got there, and he just can't seem to find anywhere that's safe for him to go without being picked off by this sniper. They get over to the far corner. They're trying to make sure this is not a great idea because he's up against a wall here, and now, it's a turkey shoot. They're trying to stay out of the way down there. He's thinking, how can I get down there? Will I be able to jump? Which is never a great option. If you're considering that as an option, then you've lost. I mean, that's very clear. And they're saying, would you, for Christ's sake, get down, please? You're making it... There's a better way of doing this. Come down, let's talk about it. And your man's having none of it. And then the sniper up in the sniping position is thinking, well, look at this. This is great. I could just quite happily pluck this dude down quite happily and Job's a good one. He's got instructions, presumably from the top guy. It's a mafia hit. And there from the other side, bang, there it is. There's the shooting. First hole, and he gets himself again. Yep. Being fired upon, but it's not making much of a difference. And finally, they turn him over to discover that your dude is done. And they can take the drugs and get the hell out of there. So, that is the Sicilian Cross, or the Executioners, or Opium Road, or Street People, whatever you want to call it, right? It makes no difference, but that's what it is. I knew it as the Sicilian Cross, and I think I probably saw it the first time late movie. It would have been the late movie. I'd have recorded it. It was Roger Moore. Anything with Roger Moore. I was a Bond fan, right? So anything with Roger Moore in it, I'm going to try and watch it, particularly if I haven't seen it. And around about that time, I was the right age. I guess it would have come on. It made in 76 or released in 76, 77 over here. I guess I would have seen it maybe late 80s, early 90s, probably a late midweek movie on ITV, and I would have recorded it on the video recorder on VHS, and I don't think I would have been, maybe I don't remember staying up to watch it because I know it had the adverts in it the first time round. Later on, in a subsequently different life altogether, I was in Malta, many moons later, Malta, which at the time was the video bootleg capital of Europe, I imagine, of the world, very possibly, outside of, I don't know, Hong Kong or places of this nature where you would expect to find knockoff things left, right and centre. Video cassettes, bootleg pirate videos were rife, and you can buy them for pennies. In the UK at the time, if you wanted to buy a sell-through, I think they were referred to, it would be £10 or maybe more, depending on what it was. Was it a brand new movie? Was it one that had been out for a little while? Was it a reissue? Sicilian Cross was one of those pictures. I picked it up as The Executioners on video cassette VHS, big chunky box. And inside it was what effectively looked like a blank video with Street People written on the front of it. I remember that vividly. So the box said Executioners. The video cassette itself said Street People. And I watched it, and it was perfectly fine. It was perfectly fine, and it was brilliant. And I watched it quite often. The movie still makes no sense to me whatsoever. And you can see from that they are throwing the kitchen sink at the action. And that might explain why the budget for the picture just kept getting bigger and bigger. And the box office returns, well, they weren't great. I don't even think it made back the budget was in lira. Was it 458,000 lira, I think, at the time, which now would be, about 4.5 million quid, probably there or thereabouts, dollars maybe. And it certainly, I don't think it made itself back in that respect. It was a very, very, very specific movie. Most likely nowadays, if it is shown, it would be shown at selected cinemas, those viewings, the screenings that they have. So the sequences in and around the car, when Charlie's throwing the car about and the passenger is going out the other side, I think he's working pretty closely with Buddy Joe Hooker. Buddy Joe hanging on to the, it was a lap belt, I suppose, back in that vehicle that they were driving round in. And special effects have rigged it that the doors are coming off and the hood, the bonnet is coming off. And then you get all this destruction. And then there's a shot of Roger Moore listening on the radio, and the car drives by, and it's intact. Continuity going, wait a minute, we don't have the editor going, I haven't got a shot of the car driving by. We'll just put this in, nobody will know. Maybe they didn't. Years later, we spotted it, but nevertheless. So you have all of this going on. Most remarkable, throwing the car out, and then he comes up with that lovely line at the end that says, I like it. I just don't like the colour. And he gets out, sorry, and walks away. It's a really exciting little sequence. And there are moments in it that's not a closed set. He is actually skipping his way through traffic. And maybe there were moments where sections were closed, but not everything. Health and safety then compared to health and safety now, different kettle of fish. You might have been able to get away with something then that you can't get away with now. The tanker sequence as well, similar exercise. Corrie, just being able to take on board what's going on And I think it's very, very exciting to have that the vehicles in and out, swiping backwards and forwards. And then Glenn remembers standing out and firing through the sunroof at the vehicles behind, and being able to do all of that, and then get that extraordinary shot where the vehicle goes over, and you don't see it. And I suspect that it was probably done in a couple of shots, and it may even have been fired over, as opposed to it physically running off the ground and turning over. It's not terribly clear, but the jumping of the vehicle when that car comes along and slides off the road and then goes up and over and into the water, that's very real. The windows are down when it hits the ground. It hits the water, of course, and then manages to heave him out, and he comes flying out way up to his waist, and the water's way down here. So he's come up with a great hurry to get out and managed to get him out at the last moment. I mean, it's the things you do to make stuff fantastic on film, you know. Anyway, that's the deal. That's where it is. It is a very complicated film, but it's a Roger Moore film. I always feel very strongly about Roger's pictures, regardless of whether they're good or bad or indifferent. And the action is entertaining. I think so. I think the action is entertaining. It's good stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Next week, I will be back in the UK. I will no longer be in Sweden, and I'll probably have to tell you how much I'm missing Sweden. I do love Sweden, and it's a great thrill to be able to go over there on a yearly basis and drink all that great beer and eat all that great food and meet all those fabulous people that we do at the film festival. So I hope you will be able to join us. We will have stuff probably on the other podcast, on the Bond Buzz, and I'll probably show you some bits and pieces from when I was over there doing a little thing. We're doing some panels this year. I did a stunt panel last year. I'm doing an editing panel this year, and that's going to prove to be quite exciting as well, because we've got the editor of Full Metal Jacket, Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. The editor, Martin Turner, will be there, and we are going to be discussing editing, and most importantly, there will be a screening of the movie where he will give us a live commentary. So if you've seen the movie, super, right? If you haven't seen the movie, maybe it's not the right thing to do. Having said that, he's going to talk us through it. It's going to be very, very exciting because I like the movie very much, but I particularly love a good live commentary. So let's look forward to that. We will join you again next week. Down here, one or the other, is the subscribe button for the YouTube channel. At the bottom is a Linktree link. Click on that. It'll take you to all the social medias, including the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to that. And until next time, it's bye for now.